I as we take you through the interior and the exterior of the 2013 Dart. But this is like a really neat vibe here in this art district. Ryan and I were out earlier taking some pictures of some of the murals and stuff. It's really inspiring artwork, and I hope you get inspired by our story that we're going to tell you about on the Dart. So let's back up a little bit to when we were developing the Dart several years ago. It was a very rapid-paced program. Basically, once the design was done, it was 18 months into production. Leading up to that, you had several months of design work, which is where we do our craft, if you will. We knew from the beginning it was going to be off of an Alfa Romeo Giulietta platform. That car was already in production. We had several of them running around Auburn Hills. I let my designers get a chance to drive the cars just to get them inspired and let them know that, hey, this car is an awesome platform. In Europe, that car exists as a 5-door hatchback. Obviously, we were going to do something in the compact sedan segment that was going to be a 3-box car, a car with a trunk basically, versus a hatchback, and a 4-door versus a 5-door. So that got them all juiced up and excited. We talked about the future of Dodge. We wanted to, you know, Dodge has is very steeped in muscle car history, and that's something that we respect and we want to acknowledge, but we want to kind of redefine performance and kind of move it into the next 100 years of Dodge, because their anniversary is coming up in 2014. So we were thinking, gosh, this could be the bellwether for the new Dodge, so we were cognizant of that. Going back to the platform, Kathy mentioned that it's a modified version of the Giulietta, so we pushed and pulled on this thing. It actually has a wheelbase that's 2.7 inches longer than the Giulietta, and that allows better ingress-egress to the second row. The whole car is roughly a little over 12.5 inches longer, mainly because of the longer wheelbase, and it has a trunk on it. It's about 1.1 inches taller. It's about middle of the pack if you look at the competitive set. It's about 1.5 inches wider, and then the track was pulled out a half inch. So it's kind of bigger in all dimensions from the base car, but as far as the competitive set, it's at the higher end of that as far as dimensions. It does have the longest wheelbase of all the cars that are out there. So we proportionally, dimensionally have a car that, from a design standpoint, we're really happy with. So then we get into talking about design. And I talked about redefining performance for Dodge. So we asked the designers, so what are some things, before the pen even hits the paper or the stylus hits the tablet, what are some things that are important to us? So one of the things that we talked about, if you look at any of our current product, the Durango, the Challenger, the Charger, they all have this, what I call a superhero front end. It's very proud, it's chest forward, shoulders forward, and it's very vertical. And so that's something that we wanted to do, and I think we were pretty successful with that on the Dart. The second thing is we wanted to promote technology, and technology can be transparent to the customer, it can be even more obvious. And in the case of the Dart, substituting traditional bulbs and reflectors for projectors was something that we were very passionate about. And by doing that, it allows us to compress these graphics so the headlamps aren't as tall and as big, which is a real struggle for designers on small cars when the lamps are so big. It almost scales the car to look, it gives it sometimes a cute factor, which could be good if that's what you're aiming for, but at the end of the day, we wanted something that was had a serious face. And that same technology works on the rear end, which I'll show you on the tail lamps. The last thing that we wanted to make sure that we were promoting was new finishes. New finishes in the fact that the crosshair here, for example, not only does it come in chrome on this particular limited model, but it comes in body color. It also comes in hyper black for the RT model. So we were given a nice spread of different finishes there for our trademark insignia for the Dodge brand. Also, this piano black, this deep glossy black finish, was something that we were really passionate about, and you can see that used not only on the front end of the Dart, but on the body side and on the rear end, and Ryan was even able to capture that finish on the interior, so we've got this nice cohesive blend. So let's talk design. So as the guys started to design the Dart, you know, the one term that came up repeatedly was sexy. It's like we want to move beyond some of the more digital designs that have been done in the past that's been kind of in and out of vogue. And we wanted something that was very sexy, very daring. We actually created this term aerodramatic. It wanted to be, there's obviously a big fuel economy play here that actually influences the design. And we wanted it to be aerodynamic, but aerodynamic sometimes can be boring, and we wanted drama. So we came up with aerodramatic. This has a very unique mono-face front end, which all this graphic ties together. And what was really cool is on the RT and the Rally, you can get this in black, and so it has this almost like a tribal mask type of quality that makes it look very sporty. And actually, from our research feedback, we found out that that was somewhat polarizing, so we came up with this version, which was monochromatic, albeit a little bit more traditional, but it allows us to kind of play with different customers, all the way from millennials to boomers. Once again, talking about the technology play, the different graphics. If we come around to the side of the Dart, several things here. We talked about fuel economy and aerodynamics. We worked a lot with engineering to keep everything nice and tidy and clean and tight. This little flick at the rear of the hood actually helps trip the air up over the car so it flows better. There's even some little things here that not only aid in design but manufacturing and the aero guys too. This is a laser brazed roof joint here. Typically we would have a filler strip in there, and it's kind of unsightly and designers don't like it. Manufacturing hates it because it's hard to get the build quality consistent. And then the aero guys just despise it. So we came up with that, which is a much cleaner, high-end looking execution, and it looks so much better. So the design of the Dart, as I mentioned, it's got the longest wheelbase of any of the cars in its class. The design of the body side, we wanted to be very clean and simple, but there's, with the A-line here that you see going front to rear, it helps lengthen the car. It's what I call, it's almost like gives it an air of formality about it. You know, it's something that A-lines kind of come and go in the car design biz, but we wanted something on there that wasn't too casual, but had a nice formality to it. The DLO, or the daylight opening that you see here, is a 3-window type of layout. We added this piece on the back for 2 reasons. Number one, it helps stretch the DLO, makes the car look longer. We wanted a short hood, a short deck lid, and a long greenhouse. But also it helps on outward visibility, which is very important. When you talk to the customers, they talk a lot about outward visibility, which all plays into the whole safety thing. And so by doing that, from the driver's perspective, it does help lighten up this very thick C-pillar. As we come around to the rear, you know, we gotta get back into the Dodge heritage. This is what we call a flying buttress, and this is something that we've put on Dodges in the past. It goes all the way back to the 1968 Dodge Charger, which had a more exaggerated version of that, but it's something that we own, that we know only Dodge can get away with, and it's something that we like to promote. The rear end of the vehicle is got just as much surprise and delight, if you will, as the front end. And probably the biggest thing is the signature tail lamp that you see here. This is something that we borrowed from the current Charger. The current Charger, I believe, has a 162 LEDs that are sprinkled all throughout and give you kind of this racetrack lighting. And so on the Dart, we talked about, well, gosh, let's take some of that, modernize the shape, and albeit it's a smaller car, it's going to have less LEDs. This one has, I believe, 152. But what's really cool about this is the technology. Once again, we were able to compress that graphic to better scale the car. And then these little guys here are indirectly lit. They're actually positioned north and south behind this black piece here, and they either point down or point north. And then there's an inner lens there that takes that light and pixelates it and then shoots it rearward. And we kind of called this kind of a fractal light, or in some cases it almost looks like crushed glass, which is kind of cool. It was something that we were able to work with the engineers to kind of get the desired look that we want, that we think looks new and fresh. So we were really happy about that. And I mentioned the piano black. Once again, it comes into that tail lamp graphic also. The deck lid here, very important for aero. The aero guys will always tell you they want it as high as they can and as rearward as they can. Well, we can do that There are limits as far as aesthetics on design, but stampability comes into play. Originally there was a crease line in here because the engineers could not stamp this. It was a 3-piece deck lid. It was 1, 2, 3. We got it down to 2 in the 11th hour. It has such an aggressive sweep and such offset, they were able to champion and get that stamped. And so that was remarkable. And so we got rid of that cut line, which helped the design. The last part I want to talk about on the rear of the Dart is this lower diffuser panel, which it's not shown on this particular model because the exhaust is actually hidden. But we actually, on the 1.4 multi-air models, we have a fascia mounted exhaust tip, which is something that is usually reserved for more premium brands and more premium models. We actually champion that on the current Dodge Charger and the current 300. And what that basically allows us to do is have a world-class fit and finish on those models with these exhaust tips. And it's something that's really cool. And once again, it kind of is a Dodge signature because on those particular models you get 2 large exhaust tips. So it's really cool. Last but not least, once again, just starting out with the Alfa Romeo Giulietta, which has great DNA and great bones, we were able to modify the car, get the proportions that we wanted, which that is, in my opinion, key to a world-class design that not only looks great and has longevity, but almost becomes timeless. Is you've got to have great proportions. And working with Fiat and working with our engineers, we were able to do that. And then putting on our, wrapping it, if you will, with our own future think for the Dodge brand, I think we were very successful with doing that. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. Ryan's going to take you through the awesome interior with his matching shirt.